And we're back.
Yes, we are. We have hit record for another week.
Yep. Welcome back to another episode of SaaS Showdown. This is a SaaS IT focused podcast where I sit here with my partner in crime.
Colin McCarthy, nice to be here.
And we talk about everything and anything that comes to our mind about SaaS. So this week we are going to be talking about a new acronym for your tool belt called SSPM, SaaS Security Posture Management. I had to look it up.
Yes, yeah.
SaaS Security Posture Management. And
it has been around, and has been around for a few years. Yeah. But I think it's starting
five-ish years.
It's starting to become more noticeable in
maybe more clearly defined, shall we say.
There's a lot more vendors out there that I think that are entering this space. And that's what I find. That's why I find this subject very interesting. Certainly because, as we've discussed before, all of the other SaaS management platforms and what they're doing, how they're evolving. There isn't one platform that does everything yet.
Right.
Until they all get bought by the Ciscos or the Googles or the Microsofts. So there are a whole bunch of separate vendors that allow you to do some posture management.
Yeah. I would say, to me, all of these are SaaS management platforms, right? They all manage SaaS in some way. I think the difference, so we've talked about SaaS spend management in particular, because I think that's a very clear subcategory of SaaS management platforms. I think what we're going to talk about today, the SaaS security posture management, is also a subcategory of SaaS management platforms, but the audience is different, right? Spend management is for a very particular audience. Usually it's a cross collaboration between IT, procurement, and finance.
Yeah, and asset management people. Yeah. Procurement.
Yeah. Like that sort of body of people. But that's a very specific focus, whereas like SaaS security posture management is obviously a different collaboration between IT and security.
Yes. So depending on the size of your organization, your role in the IT team, the size of the IT team, it could be one person doing all of it, or very segmented, and this being...
Yeah, it could be entirely different teams and entirely different departments.
Yes, and it could be the CISOs, the Chief Information Security Officers, who are looking at this, worried about it. Yeah.
Okay, so let's dig in a little bit. We were pre-show, we were looking at what is the difference between SaaS security posture management and another acronym that we've talked about, which is cloud security posture management.
Yep.
And according to the definition on G2, so this did not come from us, but according to the definition on G2, the cloud security posture management primarily focuses on cloud configurations.
Yep.
And SaaS security posture management only focuses on SaaS applications.
Yes, because obviously there is a clear distinction between the two. SaaS, it often runs on a cloud, an AWS, a Google Cloud, Azure, but you don't have access to the underlying hardware. You just rent the application, subscribe to the application, and do it. Use the tools that way.
There are organizations for which SaaS applications are their infrastructure at this point. Like, especially small organizations, like it is very possible to make your entire organization's infrastructure out of SaaS applications. Super possible. However, there's a whole little onion of stuff that happens when you start using cloud providers like Azure, AWS, GCP. And that's where cloud security posture management, that's where like the horror stories about S3 buckets being left open, and like, like people have too many people having access to certain repositories and stuff like that. Like that's where the cloud security posture management is trying to.
Yes. Yeah.
They're trying to address issues in that space, and this is much more about like your Googles, your Oktas, your Grammarlys,
Yes.
your Canvas, your Survey Monkeys, like
and there
all
is
the little things that make up your productivity suite.
Yeah. And I think there is some overlap with, obviously, with your cloud provider and your cloud security posture management platform. You're looking at
Absolutely, there's overlap.
You're looking at identity, access management, role-based access controls, and a lot of those.
A lot of the principles are the same.
Yep, a lot of the principles of what you would be concerned about for in your SaaS platforms is somebody being overprivileged, over permissioned with their rights within that application. Do you have too many super admins? Has somebody been accidentally created a super admin to fix something or given it incorrectly?
Or has somebody authorized an app integration that has some ridiculous scope creep on it?
Yes.
Like just is something like literally harvesting your company's information through this integration, or is it scoped appropriately?
Yes. Yeah. So it's all part of your ongoing auditing of, of what your landscape looks like, which becomes even harder when that landscape is virtually infinite with what applications your users can be using and authenticating to, potentially giving permissions to. And also the valid applications that are out there, and the size of your business if you're a growing business, and that's where these SaaS security management platforms, posture management, SaaS security posture management. I have said I've said SaaS platform management so many times over the last 10 years that my brain is stuck.
Right. It's like really embedded.
Yeah.
I have to. I know it's going to be a little bit of an adjustment for me to start thinking about that more of as an umbrella term rather than as a specific term of like a specific category of apps. Because at this point, it really is an umbrella term. I guess, let's name names, Colin.
Yep,
so like who do we know of in this space? Like obviously there's quite a few players there now. This is a niche of growth for sure.
Yep.
Who are we talking about?
Push Security. Pushsecurity.com. I have spoken to them. I had a number of conversations. I do have access to the platform.
You still have a demo environment.
I still have a demo environment where you and I looked through it briefly earlier on. I don't want to do that at the moment because I don't want to share my screen, and you can see all of my accounts and what permissions they have. I don't want poor Jesse to have to blur half the screen to hide personal stuff. Yeah. So we won't do that. But you can reach out to them for a demo. I find it very interesting and insightful what they can do. They do have some automations. They have what they call chat ops, where you can connect their platform into Slack or Teams, and you can automate some of the requests coming in, and you do get a really good view of, even on my limited supply of accounts that I have in the demo environment, what they have access to and what those rights would be. As you could see, there is another service that has access to the admin kit, admin toolkit. So, if that wasn't a valid service that I had consciously connected to, then that would be a big worry and something to alert people about.
Okay, so Push Security.
Yep.
Who else?
There's another one, a big one that's been around for a while, Adaptive Shield. I have spoken to them, and I've had a demo of them as well. What they could provide, I thought was very, very interesting, insightful. Yep, that's the word. It is getting late in the day here on the East Coast, and it was a similar. All of these companies are using APIs that are available. So the differentiator becomes harder to differentiate because they all have access to the same information for the most part. It can
Yeah.
be the information they can glean can depend on the integration that you connect with, whatever's your primary identity provider, Google Workspace, Okta, Azure AD,
Yeah.
etc. And then
It's really just a matter of configuration at some point,
yeah,
right? Like
yeah,
a lot of these apps all access the same set of data. It's just that the insights that they provide are built by the company. Like that's really what you're paying them for, is like to surface the right insights that you're looking for.
yes, yeah.
Um,
The one,
and in the spend management category, obviously, like we're talking about license over usage, license under usage. We're talking about renewals coming up, like things like that, right? In this category, we're talking about scope creep, new admins added,
yeah, yeah.
that kind of thing.
And the one thing that I liked about Adaptive Shield was they had some
Mm-hmm.
templates for compliance to make sure that you were compliant. You could run some reports and some templates against ISO. I'm just reading off of the screen over here. ISO 27001,
Mm-hmm.
HIPAA, SOC 2, some of the other ones, quite a few, in fact, from different countries and regions and audit requirements. And you could see where you stood, and you would get, actions that you would have to take to make yourself compliant. That I really liked. And I could see that being useful by a compliance person, because I have, the, as we have seen recently in the news, with the SEC charging the CISO of SolarWinds, that when you have some of these audit requirements that you're not following or get followed while you're going through the audit, and then things change and they're not being constantly checked on, there can be some big problems with that.
Mm-hmm.
The SolarWinds is a
I do
landmark
think,
example of
yeah,
that.
I do think that's a great call out, at least to like another piece of like the value that these platforms provide. Because I think at first glance, like when you showed me Push, I was like, that's interesting. Like this isn't necessarily doing anything different than other things that I've looked at. It is surfacing slightly different insights, but I will say when audits come around,
Yes.
sometimes it can be very important that you have a place where you can demonstrate certain things. And if your like security posture is leaning on a particular, I guess, pillar, right? Like if you're leaning on like we have audited for these things, or like we have controlled for these things and this is why this won't happen, right? Like if you're leaning on some of those pillars, sometimes these applications can help you evidence that,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
In an easier, more actionable way.
Yeah.
And so just consider that like sometimes the value is just providing the paper trail and providing the evidence that you need to pass an audit.
Yes. Yeah. And allowing you to hopefully have some automations to alert you if configurations
Right.
change that would
Yeah,
take
like being able
that
to
would
easily implement
that would
controls
take you out of
to control what
compliance.
you're saying you're
Yeah,
going to control.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The other one on the list that I have spoken to and have seen is Elba, ELBA.security, which
Okay.
I believe the founder
Elba.security.
of that is from France. I can put, obviously, we'll put links down to all of them in the show notes, and links to them on LinkedIn, so you can find them and follow them and catch up with their news. They were very much the same, would give you a view of your users, what they had connected into, where risk was within access that that they had, or those accounts had access to. And they're, I think, a newer, smaller company. Looking at the review here, they were founded in 2021. So this is
Yeah.
why it's interesting, because it's a larger, growing market with more of these companies appearing.
Yeah.
And there's another.
Well, and this is why we keep revisiting this SaaS management
I know. Yep.
topic, because like this really is, I think when Colin and I started out, obviously like we met over Better Cloud, and Better Cloud at the time was one of the premier Google SaaS management platforms, Google focused SaaS management platforms. There were other ones, but they focused on Microsoft, and we obviously work for Google organizations. So I think like, and that was, Jesus, what year was that, Colin? That we met? 2017, 2018?
At Altitude was 2019 physically.
That's when we physically met. I would say 2018 is probably when we met
in the
virtually.
in the community, yes.
Yeah. So and at 2018 was when Better Cloud made the shift from Better Cloud for Google to Better Cloud as a holistic application. They called it Better Cloud Core at the time. Or yeah, whatever it was. But so like this has evolved so much in that amount of time. From 2018 to now is 5 years.
Yep.
Right. So like, and we're talking about companies that were started in 2021, which was 2 years ago, mid-pandemic, I'll say. Like this space is really growing and changing so much. And at the time, 5 years ago, there wasn't even a name for what these were. No. There wasn't even, it wasn't a market segment. And so like we got to see that with the rise of Better Cloud and SMPs and like the introduction to Gartner and Forrester, like we got to see that happen in real time. And so like this new differentiation that we're seeing and the growth in this area is just more, it's just following that thread.
Yep. Yeah. Everything is evolving, as you said, and that's why we do. You know, we do go back on some of these discussions and revisit this stuff. Certainly, as new platforms that we discover come out.
Well, and it's interesting too, because I think the emerging markets also reflect the needs of the customers. So the first thing that we saw was spend management. That was the first big subcategory of SaaS platform management. And I would argue that is exactly where SaaS starts. Like the control and management of SaaS really starts with realizing that you're spending too much on SaaS, right? And that you need to track and handle that, right? Like we remember back when it was just sort of like a wild west, like anybody could buy anything and bring it into the organization. And there wasn't a lot of control on that.
No.
And so spend management to me is just a very obvious natural first subdivision. The second sort of subdivision that we're seeing here now is this idea that SaaS has its own sort of security around it.
Yes,
right, which is something that we've been working on manually for a long time.
Yeah,
but this is a way to do it in an automated way.
It's reaching a level of maturity and acceptance.
That you can build tools around it.
Yeah. So there's another one that has skipped my mind, and I've been trying to find the name of it, and annoyingly, I cannot.
What was different about it? What sticks out about it?
The logo was a prairie dog.
Okay.
And the name of the company was the Prairie Dog, I think in Israeli or in Hebrew. I've actually got a shot glass of theirs because I did go to one of their tech dinners. I'd have to run upstairs and grab it to remember their name.
And they were a SaaS security company?
Yes. Yeah. And I cannot remember their name. I'll find them. I thought I was fully prepared, but as we were going through this, I remembered this other company, and I cannot. I think it started with an S. But anyway, yeah, they're another Israeli-based security company that's doing. It had an Israeli-based founder. They're now here in the US. So yeah, that's another.
We might put that. We'll put that down in the description.
Yes, yeah, I'll find them.
And finds the class.
But yeah, that's another expansion of the market. Seeing that there's a way to present this information, do automations. There's also Lumos, which Lumos.com, which calls itself an access management platform, cut the spend, and automate access reviews and protect admin accounts. They do.
I would actually put that in the SSPM bucket.
I would,
Yeah.
and they market themselves as having an application catalog or a company app store, a bit like Okta does, or Okta, like you can,
and also a bit
Okta,
like some of our spend management platforms do as well.
You can publish your apps to users, but then you're paying for a license for them, or you're giving them access to it. They promote that they can have a whole workflow where you can request the app, and then access to it can all be automated. And then they do, this access reviews and protecting your admin accounts from, making sure people don't have the permissions that they shouldn't. So yeah, it's.
I guess just like really, really briefly, let's talk about the just like pros and cons here. So pros, obviously, we talked about like this could be one of your paper trail items for audits.
Yeah, depending on which one you select and
Yeah.
what rights it has.
Yeah, another pro, like if you aren't already able to track this stuff elsewhere, like the visibility will be eye-opening.
Yes.
If you don't have something else that is surfacing this kind of information for you, like it's fascinating what you'll find in your organization.
If you have never looked or thought about where your users could be signing into, what applications they are using, the first time you use it, it's like, even if you do it like the first time, if you use one of the good tools out there to do document discovery or DLP on your documents, connect that in.
Yeah, you're just going to find some really interesting stuff
on your Google Drive files. You'll be horrified to see where your exposures are.
And the same goes for this kind of stuff. Like you'll find that people have logged into like Twitch or Pinterest with their work accounts, right? Or
Pokemon Go.
Right, yeah.
There'll be so many corporate
True
accounts.
True story from a previous employer. Yes, Pokemon Go.
Yeah.
So like it is really, it's really kind of incredible. And so like, I think that those insights, if you've never had an opportunity to see them, if you don't have that information elsewhere, I think that's a major pro. If you don't have the ability to do like quick and easy automations off those types of insights, like that's a massive pro for these types of platforms. What else? Am I missing anything else?
Discovery, automations, security,
insights, automations, auditing.
Yeah. It can give you some really good alerting, these platforms. And
even if you don't really want to like automate a response to every single little thing, you can get some a lot more actionable alerts.
Yes, yeah. And reading some of the after action reports, should we say, from the recent Okta compromise, that companies that had published about it, it was they had good error logging or good reports about the activities that were suspicious, that they could then act on, and it was actionable alerts that they had got. That's what a lot of these
so there's
platforms
some additional paper trailing there.
Will allow you to do, automate some stuff. I guess your question was about, was it valuable?
Well, no. So I was going to say those are the pros, right?
Right.
So then the cons of something like this, I think the first one that comes to mind, there's two that come to mind for me, like straight away. One is that they cost money.
Yeah.
Right. These are software companies trying to make money. So if budgets are tight, like, and this isn't a major priority for you and your organization, like that's a concern. Like you're not You're not going to be the kind of organization that purchases. I think the other one is that in order to surface these insights, the level of integration is invasive, which is very similar across all types of SaaS management platforms. They need deep access to everything, right?
Yeah, yes, they do.
Yeah. And in these cases where they're trying to discover things as well, a lot of times there's a sort of secondary component like a browser extension or further integration that is going to track things. And your organization may or may not be comfortable with that.
Right. Yes. That is, the push security that we looked at, you and I earlier on. I could have done an integration and pushed out a browser extension. A lot of these others have them. Azluri does some of this work. They have a desktop app that you can install, which will, discover a lot of information.
Yeah. The underlying belief underneath that, right, is that like work should be done in workplaces and non-work should not be done in workplaces.
Yes,
and
yes.
We'll get to that another time, but
and I think
sometimes not everybody's in agreement on that.
No. But if all of these tools are used in the spirit that they are created, marketed, purchased, and deployed, then they are just for improvement of security, protecting the corporation, protecting the business, protecting the clients, and protecting the employees as well, because the employee data could be at risk, the employees, ability to work.
Right. Yeah. Like it's not just the corporate data that's at risk. Like as employees, like our personal data is at risk as well.
Yes. Yeah. And I think employees don't want to go through a security incident themselves. Certainly if it would impact the company.
Getting the notification that your HRIS used a third-party vendor that was compromised and that you now have 2 free years of identity theft monitoring is not very fun, guys. That is a true story.
Yes, I've heard from other people that have had that. That was through the MoveIt compromise, I think. No,
mine was different. Yeah.
But, right. Yeah. But no, I've heard through.
But I remember when we got that notification and I was just like, well.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yeah. All of these tools, this is just another.
Yeah, this is just another layer that we can put between us and a potential breach, a potential issue. So I don't think they're never going to be 100%. That's not possible. But we can get as close to 100 as we can. So
yeah. Well, if people haven't thought about SaaS security posture management, I would certainly recommend reaching out to Push, Elba, Adaptive Shield, or any one of the other 18 or so companies that are listed on G2 for some of the top companies, and do a demo and have a discovery and see what you want to do to protect yourself.
Yeah.
Until next time, Rose, stay safe. Check all your permissions.
I will check my permissions, Colin. Thank you. See you next time.
Bye-bye.